Hi everyone. Today I will be reviewing Infinite by Ian Shorr. This script was featured on the 2017 Blacklist and was also sold in 2017. The logline reads, based on the reincarnationist papers written by D. Eric Makrans, the hallucinations of a schizophrenic are revealed to be memories from past lives where he obtained talents that he still has to this day. So, if you haven't read the script, I suggest before watching the review you check out the script because it really is an excellent script if you're interested in writing actions or thriller scripts because it's very, very crisp, it's well written, and it moves very fast. That doesn't mean it's a perfect script. I do have some qualms with it, and I'll talk about that. But just to start, like on an overall holistic picture, this was a great script, and it was very entertaining and a very fast read. There are quite a few unique scenes from it, and you can even tell from the logline that this can go in many different directions, which I like. And I thought it was a unique way of exploring schizophrenia and the hallucinations, and it was a very interesting world that the author or the writer had created. The one thing is, it's very Matrix-like, and I mean, that can be a good thing and a bad thing. Obviously, The Matrix is a great film, and it's inspired lots of other films as well, but almost beat for beat, I found that the structure of Infinite was really closely resembling The Matrix. And I think I would have appreciated a bit more originality. So I'll give you some examples. For example, there's big things like Ethan learning how to fight and being the one. That's what it's implied, that he's Treadway, who was their best Infinite leader. But then there's even smaller things like having the wall of memories, which is exactly like the internet files and skills that Neo and Trinity would slide through when he's trying to like find those machine guns. So I just found there were these very similar images going on. There was even a scene where he folds back 90 degrees, exactly like Neo dodging the bullet. There's even a gender fluid character called Trace in the script, which is similar to the other one that was in The Matrix. I can't remember her name. They have to go, one of the major plot points is they have to go visit the artisan, which is exactly like going to see the Oracle. It's just in the first half anyway, it got very repetitive, and I was kind of disappointed because I felt like I kind of predict and see where it was going. But where the script differentiated itself is finally in the second half, we started diverging away from the Matrix formula. So, for example, a refreshing twist was that Ethan is not actually Treadway, he's actually Ablin. So in all his past lives, he was this character called Ablin, who we had been introduced to in the beginning, and he was Treadway's protege. So right away, that was a nice twist for me, where it's like, okay, that's something different and not something that I saw coming, and it was very refreshing. So I enjoyed that part. Despite the structure being very similar to the Matrix, at least in the first half, I would have to still say that I was still very entertained by it. So the action writing, like I said, was very crisp, and overall it was a very fast read. I was also very impressed by the level of intricate mythology that the writer was able to throw in there and develop without bogging us down with a lot of exposition. And that I thought was very, very impressive because there's a lot of world building that goes on in the script, a lot of mythology, a lot of stories that need to be introduced. Quite a few different characters need to also be introduced and their stories need to be told, but it was done in a very, very straightforward, easy way where I didn't feel like I was being told the story. I didn't feel like I was being bogged down with exposition. I didn't feel like characters were just needlessly going off on these long speeches explaining the world. It was very, very well done and very crisp and very fast paced. So I think definitely if there's anyone out there who's writing scripts where they have a lot of this world building going on and a lot of exposition that needs to be told, I suggest reading like probably around at least between pages 30 and 50 because that's where we have the Nora character who's explaining the infinite mythology, and it's very well done. So I think you should check that part out at least. The villain, whose name is Bathurst, was also very unique, and he had an interesting angle in that he's someone who's had to live forever, and that allows him to have an interesting and different perspective on the world, which is that, you know, he hates it and he wants to see it all end. But we kind of sympathize with him in that he's had to live essentially a tortured existence for his whole life. So I did find that the villain was cool. He was sinister. He had interesting elements to him, and so it was. But I mean, the script is it's not really about the characters. It's more about the story and just having the action in there and the world building, which I also liked. There was one thing I was confused about. I don't know if anyone else has read the script. They can explain. But in the end, we have essentially Abilene using the dethroner on Bathurst, which puts him in this container for eternity. And then in the end, Abeline and Nora decide to blow up all the containers to free all the souls, but it's never clear on whether they also blow up Bathurst or not. Obviously, it wouldn't make sense if they do blow up Bathurst, because he'll come back again and be reincarnated. So, but I wasn't sure on how they were going to blow up all the containers, but spare his. So if anyone knows the answer to that, I'd appreciate that. But overall, I thought it was a very well-paced film. It was script, and it flowed like one beat to the next. So that part was well done. The thing is, like I mentioned, Bathurst was probably the most interesting character. There's nothing too interesting about Abeline and Nora. They were just they had a very straightforward story arc. We don't know much about Nora. Abeline is / Ethan, he's kind of this wimp, he's this loser, and we start off with him that way. He doesn't know how to stand up for himself, and then by the end he does, and he has to fight, and he has to save the world, and it was just kind of like, okay, we've seen this lots of other times, and there wasn't anything I particularly liked about Ethan or Abeline. But again, like I said, it's not really about the characters so much as the story, so I felt it still did the purpose. Like, I didn't hate these characters, I just didn't feel too much for them. I would have liked it if... So the writer was implying that Nora was going to die in the end, and I actually thought Nora had died, and then it turns out she got saved by one of their friends. I actually think I would have really liked it if Nora had died, because she's not really going to actually die. She'll just come back in another life, and I thought it would have been cool for, like, the end scene to be Abeline finding her in, like, this other form, maybe in, like, China or Japan or something. I just thought it'd be interesting, it'd be unique, it'd be, like, finding the 17-year-old or 18-year-old version of her, and so it's not, like... Yeah, so I thought something like that would be cool, but I mean, she survives, so it was kind of going into a bit more of a different direction, but then it just went back to a straightforward one. But ultimately, there's a lot I think that we can learn from the script. If you're interested in writing action or thriller films, like I said, I think this is the script to read. The writing was very crisp, and even though the first half was very much like The Matrix, the second half seemed to diverge quite a bit from that formula. And I think one could also argue that the similarities in structure between Infinite and The Matrix are more like him following the hero's journey as opposed to copying beat for beat The Matrix. So I think there's an argument to be made for that. But at the end, I guess it doesn't really matter because it was still a lot of fun reading the script. I think if this was made into a film, it'd be a pretty entertaining one and something that people would like. So my rating system for this is it's definitely worth your time. You guys should check out the script and let me know what you think.